if it works. All right, good morning. I'm just gonna double check and make sure I'm actually live. There I am. All right, good morning. I'm here in the studio this morning. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Did you guys get outside this weekend? It was awesome. We went for a hike in the woods as a family, which, again, 2, 3, and 4 years old. And you'd think my 2-year-old would have the hardest time, but it was really my 3-year-old. He was very cautious. It's a good word for him, cautious. Anyway, it was fun to be outside. And now my daughter insists that it's spring, and she won't. I was like, well, see, we might get more snow tonight or tomorrow. And she's like, no, it's spring. Well, it's summer or spring. I'm like, that's really how it works. So,
good luck.
Right? This will be fun. Anyway, I'm here in the studio today. I've got Ece with me. She is an acupuncturist in Watertown. That's what you said, right? Watertown. Sorry, I just asked her, and I'm like, I need more coffee on this Monday, apparently. So I've got all sorts of questions for Ece, but if you have any, be sure to comment on the broadcast and let us know. Excuse me. And so coughs hang on with me. I'm asthmatic, and they just never let me go for weeks. So I apologize for the coughing still. So anyway, good morning, Ece. Thanks for coming.
I'm so happy to be here.
So first of all, tell us who you are. Where are you from? All that kind of stuff.
Cool. So I'm Ece. Yildrim is my last name. I'm originally from Western New York, from Buffalo.
Me too.
Yeah, we've got that in common. We got the same accent.
We don't have an accent.
But from there, my parents are originally from Turkey, so I have that fun heritage. That's where my name comes from. That's where people are usually asking about. From there, I went to undergrad at University at Buffalo. After that, I started growing interested in Chinese medicine, so I actually traveled to China and Nepal and India. I did kind of a
I'm jealous.
self-discovery tour of some kind.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I had found acupuncture a little bit at that time. I hadn't known a lot, but by the time I got back from China, I knew that's really what I wanted to study. It was a perfect fit for me as far as my health history, because I had always been that kind of person where I didn't ever have a diagnosis with any of my health problems, but I also always seemed to have a health problem. So Western medicine, without a diagnosis, they can't do anything for you. Yeah. So finally, after finding out about acupuncture and Chinese medicine, it was just it changed my life. And I love working with people, just not in groups. I'm nervous to work with people in groups, so I can see myself being like a manager or something. And then Chinese medicine is also such a creative type of medicine, so it's not so, fit in the box. So it just kind of fit my personality a lot of letting me do all of those things. So I found a school that was the perfect fit in Portland, Oregon. And
I've always wanted to go to Oregon.
It's amazing. It was hard to leave.
Right?
They really are starting spring now.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
February is the start of spring, so that's
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. So now you're in Massachusetts, though. How long have you been in Massachusetts, and how did you end up here?
Less than a year. When I came back from the West Coast, I moved to upstate New York, and I started my clinic there. I always really loved the upstate area, and I wanted to come back to be closer to my family, but just not quite in Buffalo.
Right.
And then I met someone, and he lives in Boston.
So
we dated long distance for a while, and finally he convinced me to move here last year. And my office has actually only been open since August. So yeah, so I'm pretty new to this area.
Nice. Sure. So how long did you have your practice in New York?
Just over 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a bit experience beyond that too.
Right.
After I graduated from my grad school, I actually volunteered overseas in Nepal doing acupuncture for quite a few months.
Okay.
That gave me a lot of crazy experience.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Wow. I already want to meet you. So I have never had acupuncture personally. My husband keeps trying to convince me to try it, and I'm kind of terrified. It's needles. Talk to me about that. I can't be unusual in this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something I hear a lot. I mean, especially since when people hear needles, they think of getting shots at the doctor, and those are painful. So I see how that's kind of scary. But our needles, I should have brought one. They're so flexible that if I were to hold it up to the screen, you probably even wouldn't be able to see it very well.
Okay.
And so I usually, the way I demonstrate it is I hold it up and I actually fling it back and forth and it just jiggles.
Yeah.
So it's really just this tiny, thin piece of, I assume it's surgical steel or stainless steel. I actually don't know what the official legal metal is, but whatever it is, it's hypoallergenic. So,
Okay.
but yeah, they're very tiny. Some people don't even feel them being inserted at all. Some people feel like a little pinch. Usually there's some kind of tingling. Sometimes people feel like their arm or leg is falling asleep, but they're really not scary.
Right.
I recommend giving it a try.
Someday I'm going to. I'm going to be brave. I shouldn't say I've never tried it. So with my first, who's this beautiful canvas behind me, by the way. You can't see it on the live, sorry. You've seen it before. She was breached. And so, you know, you go to the Spinning Babies website and it's like they give you like 5,000 things to try. And one of them is acupuncture. And we didn't have it in the budget at that point in life to try to go. We tried nearly everything. But I had a friend who was acupuncturist. And so she sent her some of the little like...
Oh, the moxa sticks?
Yes. And so my husband tried that with me. It didn't work. And I'm sure that it makes a big difference to go to somebody that's actually trained in it. But she was like, they don't have any money to try it. It's worth a try. So anyway, I never would have thought of acupuncture for spinning a baby.
Yeah.
So you actually specialize in like women's things.
Yeah.
That's the technical term.
The spiel I give is I work in menstrual balancing, preconception, pregnancy, postpartum. That's kind of my specialty area.
So talk to me about this. Like, for instance, spinning babies. Talk to me a little bit about that and like what's your experience with that and you know what kind of things can you try and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like anything, some things are gonna work and some things aren't gonna work. But I've seen such great success with acupuncture that it just gets me so excited. And one of the reasons I really love to work with pregnancy is that so acupuncture, I already think it's this magical thing and it's amazing. But in pregnancy, there's so much extra blood and chi to work with in the body that it just happens so quickly, and it just blows my mind every time. But with with the babies, when they're not turning, there's sometimes a reason, sometimes isn't. Like I'm sure you've heard, like sometimes the cord is wrapped up. I think so it's hard to know exactly what the acupuncture is doing.
Right.
But I think what the acupuncture does is help like unwind anything that is happening. Because often what I see with the breech treatments is even from the first treatment, I'll get a lot of movement. So usually what I do is I have them come in, do like a full treatment, and then send them home with the moxa.
Okay.
And the treatment is, you're supposed to do the treatment yourself 10 days, but I have them come back in a week again. So like just 2 treatments and then the 10 days of moxibustion. And every time you'll get more and more movement from the baby, but it's not towards the end of that 10 days until you get them to actually flip. So I suspect that there's like an unwinding of some kind, and then they're like, oh, okay, I have freedom now.
Right.
You can turn around.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's like that with a lot of the things. So you'll have like pain here, or the baby's like favoring that side. And so
she was that way. I still remember. She was my first. I've had 2 more babies since then. And it's been 5 years. And like right here, there's a spot right here that she loved to push on. I was like, dude, you can't come out that way.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So that's interesting. I never would have thought that was, I mean, it was my first. I didn't know that was not a normal thing, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a normal thing.
Like, relative.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi. So talk to me about, you work in menstrual balancing and you work in prenatal, postpartum, all that. Just kind of give me some examples. What do you do in those? Like, what are some situations where a woman would want to come see you?
Sure. Well, with menstrual balancing, this is one thing that I like really want people to know is that, you know, doctors are like, well, that's just what the period's like. You're going to have cramping, you're going to have spotting, you're going to have tender breasts. You don't have to have those.
Right.
Like it's just that Western medicine doesn't have tools to help you with them, so that's why they say it's normal. It's not that it's abnormal, it's just you don't have to have those.
Right.
So that was part of my own journey is I had awful cramping every month that would leave me just incapacitated, and even after I finished bleeding, I would be so fatigued. I just thought I can't lose this much time every month out of my life. And through a lot of acupuncture. These kinds of treatments, unfortunately, do take a lot of time. Acupuncture, diet. I even dabbled in like going to a nutritionist, and you know, you kind of have to have your healthcare team. But now I have like a great period, and it's not a problem. In times of stress, of course, things always come back. And it's a little struggle with my move. I definitely had a little bit of struggle in rebalancing, but it's so great to just be able to like enjoy that cleansing time that is your period. Like your emotions cleanse out, your body cleanses out, and if you're not dealing with the pain of it, you can actually like feel the freedom and release of it.
Yeah. Nice. So how long would you say somebody would have to do treatment for to start to see a result? Like not to be like no pain, but like to see.
Right.
And
that's a good question. It depends a lot. I like to say that people should feel something different within 3 treatments, but that's not necessarily something different of your main complaint. Like maybe all of a sudden you notice, oh, I didn't even mention this, but my sleep has been better. I didn't even mention that sleep was a problem. So there should be something small. But I also like to say don't give up even at 3 because acupuncture is so individualized. You kind of have to figure out what treatment is the best one for you. So if you feel absolutely no change by 3 treatments, really like make sure your acupuncturist knows that. So you can talk and redirect the treatments and figure out why it's not having some kind of change. As far as real results, for someone like me where I had horrible menstrual pain since I started menstruation and I didn't start treatments until I was like, I don't know, 19. I didn't get acupuncture throughout. So it was, I think everyone can relate to this where you just get burnt out from doing self-care for a while. So I would do treatment for a few months and then kind of take a break. And I'd still keep up with my diet. And
you were doing it to yourself?
No. It's hard to do acupuncture.
Right. I was like, what? Self-care in that way? You mean going to someone? Got you. Okay. Makes much more sense.
Yeah, so I go for like 2 months of steady treatments, either every week or every other week, and then I take a break for like 3 or 4 months. I'm still working on my diet and doing my like homework that my acupuncturist gave me and stuff. But with that kind of pattern of maybe 1 or 2 months on, 2 or 3 months off, it really did take a year before I like really felt a big change. So it can take a lot of time, which is hard to really commit to that. But for problems that are newer, you get a lot quicker results. So for people that have new pain crop up, like in their knee, yes, the roots of it may be older, but to start to get that pain to release can take as little as like 5 or 10 treatments. Nice. Yeah.
And how often do treatments happen, or does it depend on the person and what the ailment
Depends on the person. Yeah, it can be as often as 2 or 3 times a week, or it can be as infrequent as once a month.
All right. Talk to me. So we talked a little bit about like spinning babies, but what are some other reasons? Oh, and like the abnormal pains in pregnancy. Are there other reasons that a pregnant woman would want to come see you? Or
yeah. So basically, any of the pregnancy complaints, like in the early pregnancy, nausea and vomiting, of course. Anytime you have difficulty sleeping, any of those, you can come in for acupuncture. The one time I would say to come in for acupuncture when you have 0 complaints in pregnancy is from week 37 onwards. This is like, everybody, I want to spread the word for this because it's the statistics on these treatments from week 37 until birth are just amazing. Especially, they've mainly studied first babies because the results are more dramatic, but the babies come out a lot faster, there's less complications, and then postpartum also there's less difficulties. So with that balancing acupuncture, you have less postpartum depression, less fatigue. Of course you're going to experience things postpartum. Your body's going through a ton of changes. Like I think that's the most
crazy hormones.
Time. Yeah, you know you've done it 3 times.
And I wasn't warned about it before the first one. It was very overwhelming.
Yeah, unfortunately, I really found that Western medicine focuses up until birth, and then
they're like, see ya.
Yeah.
Have fun. Good luck raising this child.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so with these treatments, you're both preparing for birth for a shorter, more efficient birth. I don't like to say faster because faster isn't necessarily a good thing, and it doesn't create a faster birth, just more efficient birth. But yeah, then you get all those postpartum benefits. So that's the one time I'm like, come in and see an acupuncturist from week 37 on. It's weird to go seek medical attention when you don't have any problems, but it's just
preventative.
Yeah. Exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah, and then of course postpartum also. I do right now I do offer home visits for postpartum in case there are any trouble with like too much bleeding or trouble with breast milk production or letdown, any of that kind of stuff.
I never would have thought again for breast milk production. Yeah. Like so many women are so concerned about losing their supply or having not enough or whatever, but like, and there's all sorts of things like brewer's yeast that you can ingest and you know whatever, but acupuncture. Yeah,
I've even talked with some people who know more about lactation than I do, and they said that like yes, the brewer's yeast, the lactation cookies, those all help, but they've seen better results when their clients go see an acupuncturist. So I've been curious about that because I've definitely helped people with it, but I haven't had that comparison of someone who didn't get acupuncture and just did the like edible things versus getting the acupuncture. So apparently it's like a pretty dramatic change.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Things I'm learning so much by doing these interviews. I love it.
Yeah, it's so fun. I'm excited to go back and watch your other ones that I've been wanting to.
There's been some interesting information. I'm like floored. All these amazing people in our area and the things they do, yourself included. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's the great thing about the healthcare team. Everyone brings so much into it.
Right? Yep. And there's so many things I wish I would have known before I had children. You know? So let's go back to before children. So we talked about menstrual cycle a little bit. Can you help with infertility issues? Like, is that something? I assume you like a miracle worker over here. Talk to me about that.
Yes. Yeah, I do try to shy away from the word infertility because I know it brings up so much stress. But I definitely work in that realm. So I like to call it preconception. And basically, Chinese medicine, you just work to get the body optimally healthy. So that often leads to pregnancy, it may not. So that's why the reason I like to shy away from fertility. If you want like a more solid guarantee, Western medicine is going to be able to offer that. But I can offer you a bigger chance of getting pregnant for sure. There's kind of a joke among Chinese medicine folks, acupuncturists, that we should give a disclaimer that even people that aren't necessarily focusing on fertility, because coming into acupuncture makes you healthier, there's a higher chance you're going to get pregnant, whether or not you're looking for it.
So, more of an oops.
Yeah. So a little disclaimer for all of you out there. If you're not planning on getting pregnant, watch out when you get acupuncture.
That's so funny. So where on the body are you like, so it's needles. Is it always needles, or there's like moxibustion is like little smoky sticks? I don't know what to call them. Incense? Is there the incense?
It's close to incense. It's a single herb. But yeah.
All right. Smoky sticks. Technical term again. I'm very good at those. So is it always needles then, other than that? Or like, talk me through a treatment. What does it look like? Where are you putting needles? All sorts of stuff.
Well, I'd say probably about 95% of my treatments include needles. I have done a few needle-less treatments for people that are really afraid of needles. I think the one time someone said absolutely no needles, I do not even want to try, was basically an induction. Her baby was very big, and she was like, I can't wait anymore. So we did just acupressure, not even moxibustion.
Okay.
And she actually went into labor. The treatment was in the morning, and she went into labor that evening. So that was really exciting for me because I feel like the needles are stronger. So acupressure definitely works, but you just feel more change with the needles. Aside from, or I guess I should say where. So the acupuncture needles actually can go anywhere. Like if you have treatments for migraines, say, which often go hand in hand with menstrual cycles, unfortunately, you'll be getting points in your legs and your feet. I work a lot with the lower body just because a lot of the systems associated with women are on the legs, so that is a way to treat the whole body. But you'll also get points, often for migraines. I still do a point where people feel it most, so whether that's on the top of the head, on the side of the head, or just for headaches in general. So you can expect to get them kind of anywhere. I try to keep my treatments to not have too many needles. Personally, I found when there's a ton of needles, it seems to confuse the body. So I really try to keep it between 10 and 20 needles per side.
That sounds like a lot to me. For somebody that gets nervous about one, but it's like you said, they're different needles.
Yeah, they are very different. They're so tight.
Right. I totally want to try this someday.
And then as far as the rest of the treatments, there's the moxibustion, which is really great. It has such a strong association with blood. Even Western medicine has found when you do moxibustion on the body, it like really activates the blood cells and the platelets in an interesting way. I don't remember the details of the study, but it was cool to see like the little numbers of the different parts of the blood they measured. And then I also do cupping. I do gua sha.
Here's so much about cupping. Talk to me about this because I don't know what it is. But with the Olympics, you know, you always hear about the cupping.
So the first thing I'll say is for the people that fought in the Olympics, it usually doesn't make those huge dark marks that you saw on the Olympic athletes. You only see that on people who have like really, really chronic muscle tension, like really big problem, or super athletes, because being a super athlete is actually really like bad for your body. Right. So most people get something a lot less dark, usually just like a light purple circle or a light red circle that goes away in 5 days, up to 10 days, but usually it's gone within 5. And you can treat a lot of things. I usually incorporate it in to work with like joints and muscles that are causing problems, but you can treat anything from menstrual cramps to bellyaches to common colds. Asthma actually is a good one, COPD. Yeah, so you can do cupping like kind of along the chest here and along the upper back for breathing issues. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so you kind of get the whole gambit. I have a lot of patients, especially in my New York clinic. They would bring a friend in and I would teach them cupping for just muscle relaxation. So really basic cupping, because it's a treatment that's pretty easy to learn. What do you use for cupping? Is it like a cup? Like, it sounds ridiculous, but I really have no idea. Is it like a suction cup or a... Most acupuncturists do use suction cups. They have like a little pump on it. I'm kind of old school, so I use glass cups. They're specially shaped to be a little easier, so it's like a circle just with a flat end. And then I use alcohol-soaked cotton ball, and I light that on fire. So this is called fire cupping. And so you put the flame into the glass cup to burn out the oxygen, quickly take out the flame, and then put it down on the skin.
So it's like the air causing a vacuum.
Yes. Yeah, you make a little vacuum. So that's kind of the old school version. The school I went to was definitely focused more on the traditional techniques. So we tend to shy away from the modern techniques a little bit. Crazy. So moxibustion, the needles, the cupping, and you said something else after that, I think. Gua sha. Yeah, gua sha kind of goes into the category of cupping. It's the translation sounds worse than it is. It's called scraping, but that's much worse than it sounds. So it's you take a smooth edged ceramic spoon and you rub it against the skin, and it feels, I would say, it feels a little uncomfortable, but it doesn't hurt. And you do often get like red marks from it, though. Just kind of like the cupping, you can get some marks. But the number one thing I use it for is actually coughs that won't go away. Speaking of coughs, me. Yeah, and that's really helped for clearing out the lung channel. It's right here, so it kind of just clears out some congestion in the lung channel, and that helps the cough finally dissipate when it's not otherwise dissipating. All right. I'm like, okay, sign me up. I'm going to her office next today. Awesome. So let's go back to, you talked about migraines, and we all know in pregnancy you can't take medications other than Tylenol, which really doesn't work on a migraine, which honestly the only time I've ever had migraines are in pregnancy. My second trimester, I always get about a week of migraines. So how would that work with acupuncture? Like, are there risks? Are there side effects? Or is it something like when my migraines start, I could come to you and it would be helpful? I'll let you talk. Sure. I generally like to say the sooner you come in for a problem, the better. So some people do recommend coming in regularly during pregnancy just because there are so much changes. I like to say you can, but as long as you're keeping really close track of your body and you feel when something is starting to feel imbalanced and come in then, that's still going to give you kind of the best benefit. So if this one kind of like brings you into knowing yourself. If you know you're just a really busy person and you don't like do a body check-in, maybe coming in regularly to kind of prevent any problems is the best. But if you are someone who kind of keeps tracks of like, oh, my left toe feels weird today or something, then just as soon as you feel that sign of something starting to go a little off, that's when you schedule the appointment. Okay. But even if you wait until the migraines are actually happening, you can still come in. It just might mean you might need like a little bit more frequent visits at first. So that's maybe when you need 2 or 3 a week, and then space it out, as opposed to if you came in when it's first starting, you just need 1 week until the problem passes.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just about redistributing the channels. Migraines are often, from a Chinese medicine point, the channels that flow up to the head, they just get a little set on up and forget to come back down. That's kind of one of the ways we look at it. And so getting them to really go through the whole flow of cycle and not get stuck up here and causing the sound and light sensitivity and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm trying to think if I have any other questions about specific pregnancy. I can't think of any right now. Any of you think of any, be sure to write her. We'll ask them. But let's move on to children. So I always hear for kids that have like chronic ear infections, go see an acupuncturist. Or if they're asthmatic like me, that's just why my husband keeps telling me go see an acupuncturist. Like these are things, the chronic issues that you can help with. So speak to that a little bit.
Well, first I will say that I actually don't work with kids. It really is a specialty.
Okay.
So it's with kids, especially younger kids, you can't really use needles because they're moving, they're not going to stay still.
They never move.
Yeah, they'll hardly like take a sweet tasting medicine and forget like doing even a tiny little needle that might pinch for a moment. So there's specialized techniques for kids. But I did actually intern when I was a student with one of the doctors that saw kids. And with kids, they change so quickly, as you know, having 3 of them and watching them. But that means the treatment is quick too. Like these treatments would last maybe maximum 20 minutes. And I still remember one kid just had a lot of skin conditions, and you can literally see the skin changing during the treatment. It was just really wild how fast that happens. And yes, they still have to come in for repeated treatments. But there's different tools that they use. These they're called Shonishin tools, and you do like stroking along the channels or tapping along the channels, and that's what creates the movement rather than the acupuncture. So it's more of the acupressure. Okay. And it's amazing. And if you can get those little imbalances fixed when they're kids, then it's not going to develop into something bigger as an adult.
Right.
Yeah. Then you could even prevent getting menstrual problems and having to come in to me for a year. So.
Right. I know people that have had such bad menstrual cramps that like they literally, when they went to see a doctor about it, like they said that their uterus was swelling to like the size of 3 months pregnant, and like literally on the couch in tears for like a whole period. And I'm like, that's awful.
I know. No one should have to live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously. She got a hysterectomy, that person. Like, if you can avoid that, like, holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah, I should kind of promote, a friend of mine is starting an endometriosis support group, speaking of like really painful periods. So she just started it. It's in, Somerville.
Okay.
Yes. I'll have to post a link onto this interview so you can see it later. But
okay.
I'm really excited about that because we're going to do some collaboration and pull together resources. Because when you do have really severe problems like that, like that's when you really need a healthcare team. Like, yes, acupuncture can do so much for you, but you need diet, you need, and then support also because it does take time. So going through that every month, you need people around you.
So let's talk a little bit more about things like that, like endometriosis and like polycystic ovary syndrome. I can't even speak. Like all those kinds of things that are like chronic type. So obviously you can help with those things, but is it just those kinds of things that you also like? Do you say, here's a diet you should follow, or do you just say go find a nutritionist and give them some recommendations? Like, what's your style with that kind of thing?
Sure. I do have, through my education, I got kind of like the basic tier of nutrition training. So I'm probably at the level of like your most basic nutritionist. So I will give general dietary advice, but if that's going to be really important, which it is for a lot of people, I do like them to see an actual higher level tier nutritionist. So I guess I have the ability, especially, like, I understand budget is a thing. It's hard to have a healthcare team. So getting started with my treatments and some basic nutrition advice, and then maybe when it's time to like take a break from acupuncture treatments, when you're burnt out on coming to acupuncture, then maybe that's the time to go see the nutritionist and get those details. So I do like to help people find a plan that works for their schedule and their budget, and luckily I have the resources to be able to do that, since it is so important to start nutritional stuff right away, so I can give them at least the outline of things to start, and then eventually at some point get those details in better.
Speaking of budget, insurance, is acupuncture something that's covered by many insurances or not? Or
that's a really tricky thing. That's something I'm navigating right now. I'm mostly through the process of getting credentialed with Harvard Pilgrim, so I'm excited to be able to accept insurance for that. But I'm still trying to figure out the other ones. The unfortunate truth of it is that there are a lot of insurances that pay for acupuncture, but they force the acupuncturists to take really big discounts. And unless I raise my rates, I can't afford to offer those discounts. So that's one of the challenging things. So I'm hoping to be able to accept more than just Harvard Pilgrim, but I'm still navigating that. In New York, it was the unfortunate truth that basically none of the insurances in the area covered acupuncture, so it wasn't something I had any experience in. So that's a new ball game for me.
It's like, which problem are you going to deal with? Basically. So how do you work with people who without insurance like want to do treatments? Like, what's your end game? Like, I don't know how to say it. Like, do you develop a plan with them about payments? Like, do you do a payment schedule? Is it all up front? Do you do it all at the end? How do you personally?
For sure. Yeah, no, I'm really glad you're asking this question, because this isn't something I've put up on my website too much. Right now, just for my first year here, I actually have discount on everyone. So everyone just gets a discount. It's just a way for people to get to know me. You know, I know people want to have referral basis. Being new in the area, it's hard to really develop that. But beyond that, I am going to be offering, there are going to be ways to be able to fit it in your budget. And that's to either buy a package of treatments. So we can do a package and that gets you a discount. I also do offer like some scholarships of some kind for people who really have financial hardships. And I'm still creating the guidelines for that. I do want to have like kind of just a more clear guideline of when and where that's offered. But that's something that's really important to me, because I know it's hard to fit everything you need for your health, especially when you're having health issues. Then your income's not always as big as you want it to be. So it's one of those things that I want to be accessible, but I do need to support myself. I've got a ton of student loans, unfortunately, like so many of us.
Let's not get started on that.
So definitely I would say for people, everyone out there, I encourage you, if you really can't afford it, just talk to me. I do, like I said, I do have the discounts across the board right now, so I'm not really offering much else, but if even that's like outside your budget, please do talk to me. We'll try to figure something out.
I don't know about you guys, but I much prefer to work with somebody that cares so much about what they do that they're like, oh, I don't need to eat. And then of course I want them to eat, so I want to pay the full price or more. But no, that's so good to know of like, just, because I know, for instance, we we currently are without insurance because my husband he just started his own company.
Oh, congratulations!
Totally different story. Yeah, it's really exciting. But our old insurance covered like our chiropractic care. We go to the chiropractor once a week. It used to be 2 or 3 times a week when we first started, which we'll be talking to him in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Right? I'm so excited about that. He's amazing. And I started to see him when my daughter was breech and we were trying to flip her. I was like, trying everything. So, but he, he will tell you this is what your insurance will cover and, whatever. But he also will work and say, here's what it costs if you don't go through insurance. Like, just let's work together here. So it's really awesome. Like, because insurance will only cover so many treatments and to get proper care, you need more. So even if I feel like our insurance did cover some acupuncture, again, I don't know for sure, but like it was very few treatments, even if they did cover it. And it, like, then you have to find the acupuncturist that accepts that insurance, and like, so it's not even like you can see who you want to see. Anyway, so good to know that like you will work with people and like help them find a treatment plan that'll work for them and works for you.
So, I should say, like, a lot of people that maybe can't afford to come in as often, I like to give them more homework. So
can you give me an example of what homework would be? Because you keep referring to homework for acupuncture, and I'm like, I don't really understand.
The homework, it can be as simple as the moxibustion you were doing for breech. So I'm a really big fan of moxibustion, again, because it has such a strong association with the blood. And in Chinese medicine, we say that women are made of blood and men are more made of qi. And of course, we have both, but it's our main influencing factor. So I'll give people a moxa stick to take home to do on various parts of their body. With menstrual issues, it's often on the lower abdomen, like really building up the blood and getting things to flow better. Like with polycystic ovarian syndrome, getting stuff to flow in a way that you're not creating those cysts anymore, just as an example. And then nutrition, of course, is one of them. Sometimes I'll give little exercises. That's definitely not one of my fortes, but a lot of people, it'll be beneficial for them to do daily twists or stretches, so kind of giving that kind of stuff. I think those are the main ones.
Nice. Okay. I was like, you keep talking about homework. Am I like writing a paper or? Yeah. Awesome.
Or meditation too, like little mindfulness practices.
Right. Oh, so much is connected to your mind and like your spirit and your life and like how it plays out. You know that for sure. Yeah. In Chinese medicine, we actually really integrate it. So we talk about the organ systems a lot, and they have emotions associated with them also. So when I'm doing an intake, I'll often ask someone, like for example, say they're getting a lot of headaches. I'll ask them if they're prone to irritability, because those two are both linked to the liver system, so that they'll give me a clue. But you can get headaches from other systems too. So if you aren't prone to irritability, well, let's look in a different direction and see where it is coming from. Okay. So back to the needles. I'm a little obsessed with these needles. I know. I wish you would have brought one. I'd be like playing with it. It's probably good you didn't. I'd be very distracting. So you said there's tons of different places you can put them all over your body. Are they all like acupressure type points, or is that the places that you're working on, or is it other places? Okay. Yeah, so the acupressure and the acupuncture are both based on the channel system. So we have, depending on which ones you count, we have 12 main channels on the arms and legs and head and everywhere. And so basically the way I like to describe it is those are the rivers of the body, and the points are the eddies in the river. So you get those little like, so often when you're like kind of going across your arm, there'll just be a spot that kind of sinks in. And that's usually a point. I mean, you do have points outside of the channels, so not necessarily, but you can, if you're like really paying close attention, you'll just sink into the spots. They are also often points where there's like a notch in a bone or where two muscles meet, so that's part of why there's a divot. But then it's amazing how even just like in a muscle belly, you'll be like, oh, there's really just a little dip there in the muscle. Right. That one for headaches.
Yes. Yeah.
I learned that one a long time ago. Oh yeah.
That's also one of the big. This combined with another point is like the induction point too. So all those pregnant ladies out there, be careful about pushing that point.
See, I didn't know that. I knew there was one on your ankle or foot or somewhere, but because getting pedicures, they're always like really paranoid when I'm very pregnant. And I'm like, get over it. If I want, like, my body's not going to go into labor unless it's ready to go into labor.
Exactly. That is another funny thing is all my acupuncture teachers, they've always said like, oh, when my wife was pregnant, or when I was pregnant, depending on if it was women or women, we did all the points like just at home, and it didn't work unless the baby was ready.
Right. Right.
You need the right combination and the right timing. The good news is though, if you do induction treatments and it doesn't work, it still usually makes everything else go smoother. So if you still have to get the Pitocin, maybe you don't need as high of a level, you still get the benefits.
Like you were saying, 37 weeks.
Yes, 37 weeks.
Start seeing acupuncturists to help you through all of that.
Yeah.
Nice. Another question about the needles. So do you reuse the same needles? Or
no.
Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely all single use. It used to be that people would reuse them before there were regulations, but then they get more painful because they're not as sharp. When they're not as sharp, it's more painful. And then there's, as always, risk of contamination and everything, and doing sterilization process. So now it's just single use. They go into a biohazard bin, and then I have to take the biohazard bin to a designated place where I don't know what they do with it, but they get rid of it somehow.
Right. Hopefully not by throwing it in the ocean. So.
Yeah, no, luckily
I assume that's not the
regulations about. Yeah.
The needles. So I know like medical needles or like getting your ear pierced or anything, like they're hollow. Are these also hollow needles?
No. That's one of the reasons they're so tiny is we're actually only licensed to use non-hollow needles. Filiform needles is what they're called. Yeah. And that's just a funny little thing about our license because I'm not interested in using hollow needles anyway.
Right.
But yeah, they are just solid, and that's one of the reasons they're very thin. There's actually this awesome image that's online of just, I think, like 20 or 30 acupuncture needles fit into the tip of a hypodermic needle.
What?
Yeah.
They're so tiny.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Is there a reason? So obviously it's regulation, you said, but like, is there a reason you prefer to use solid needles over hollow needles?
I'm just stimulating the point, so I don't want anything to like come in or out while I'm stimulating it.
Okay.
And then also with the solid needles, the skin actually basically seals itself up as you take it out. So there's rarely any bleeding. Most people get one spot that lets out like a single drop of blood.
Okay.
But for the most part, with the solid needles, you're able to avoid that just because the skin seals up behind it. Whereas if there's a hole, it's going to be held open. From an energetic standpoint too, we do. So medically speaking, it's good to hold a cotton ball over the point after you take out the needle in case of bleeding, avoid, blood getting pieces and stuff.
Right.
But the real reason we do it in Chinese medicine is actually to make sure the hole is closed energetically. So we don't want, the traditional Chinese way of saying that you got a cold is saying you have wind invasion. So we don't want wind to get into your body.
All right.
Yeah. So having a hollow needle would increase that chance of wind getting into your body.
All right.
Other signs of wind are like spasm, tight cold muscles, that kind of stuff. So we have our own little diagnoses.
Right. Little lingo there.
Yeah.
He said that at a party. Don't let wind get into your body. And people will be like, what? Don't breathe?
My partner does joke at me all the time because I whenever I see, especially women running with their legs exposed in really cold weather, we say that colds can get into your uterus because, again, the channels on the leg go into the uterus. And so I'm always like, your uterus, just jokingly, and he's picked it up now. So
funny. Does he say it now when he sees one? Your uterus!
Yeah, of course, not out loud where they can hear us. People,
Sure.
But it's just a little joke. We use the little lingo.
I'm going to think of that every time I see a woman running now in the cold with bare legs. I'll be like, oh no! So funny. So, I feel like I had another question. And then I lost it. I got distracted by your uterus. Oh, channels. So you talked about the channels. You said 12 channels.
12 main channels.
12 main channels. Okay. Are those like lymph system channels? Is it blood? Or is it not any of those things? It's just kind of a different category.
That's actually a super interesting question. So there has been a lot of research on this. And it's interesting how for example, in Chinese medicine, we say the stomach channel is full of a lot of blood. And they have found that a lot of the stomach channel correlates with arteries and maybe capillary beds. But then another channel, maybe they're like, oh no, this one seems to line up more with the lymph system. So yes and no. Okay. There's no one thing that any of them follow, but we are finding correlations. Wow, this channel really seems to follow the nerves, this one seems to follow capillary beds, this one seems to follow arteries, but it's not a one-for-one.
Okay.
So they're still not really sure what the channels are in a Western standpoint.
All right. Awesome.
The one confirmation I can say is even during, I practice Tai Chi. I'm a little out of practice at the moment, to be honest, but it's amazing how you can actually start to feel some of the channels. When I was really practicing Tai Chi, it was really amazing, but only my pinky finger would start to get cold as I practiced. And
interesting.
from just knowing about my health, I have had a history of digestive issues, and this is the small intestine channel. So it was almost as if something was transforming in my small intestine channel through the Tai Chi, and I did find my digestion was improving.
Right.
So there's little things like that, and then with the acupuncture too, I'll put a needle here, and people will say, "Oh, I felt it travel to, this toe," and that's the line of the channel. So there is something there. It didn't follow a nerve pathway, it didn't follow a blood pathway, but there's something connecting them.
So this is so funny. So my husband will like massage my shoulders or whatever when they're tight, and there's sometimes that he'll find like a knot around my shoulder blade, and I can either feel it just top of my head or down to the tips of my fingers. Is that kind of like
exactly
one of those channels?
Yeah.
Like it's just getting something, a pressure point where it's just traveling.
Exactly.
I'm always like, wait, stop, my fingers. Wow. Awesome.
Yes, if you're ever curious to know which one, just describe the pathway and I'll let you know which channel it is.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah. Anyway, any other questions? Any of you have any questions for her? I am like so fascinated by this. There's so many things I've learned today.
Awesome.
Are there any other, so I know you specialize in women's health. Are there any other things that we didn't talk about that you feel like?
Actually, yes, a couple of things. I do actually treat trans people too. So I like to say I treat people who menstruate, or if you're if you are menstruating but you have a uterus, I'm still happy to treat you. Trans people want to get pregnant too, so I'm happy to treat pregnant men. It's not as common, of course. All the pictures you see are usually women, but I'm happy to do that. And then one other thing I do, I actually do some pelvic care work. So I do encourage you to come in postpartum and help with that. It's
Tell me what you mean by that.
Oh, sure. It is actually an internal therapy, so it's not quite as involved as, say, a physical therapist, but I was taught by a physical therapist, so it's kind of in that realm. A lot of it is actually emotional work, but it is physical too. There's a lot of imbalances, so help preventing like stress incontinence, like peeing when you sneeze, that kind of thing. Just getting the bowl back in balance.
Question about that, actually. Is that something that you need to do soon after having children, or can you do it like 40 years down the road? Like, is that helpful at that point?
Yes, I've seen a lot of people that years and years later, even after hysterectomy, their children are adults, and I've seen them and they've felt benefit.
Okay.
So that's one of the amazing things. I've never had children, and I've had the treatment, and I found it actually ended up helping my menstrual issues. So it's really interesting there what it can connect into.
Okay.
If you're curious to find out more about it, I highly recommend reading Wild Feminine by Tammy Kent.
Okay. We'll link to that.
Yeah. She was my teacher, and she's just treated thousands and thousands of women.
Okay.
Literally, like, that's not an exaggeration.
Right.
She's treated a lot of women.
Wow.
And just the benefits she's seen from it are so I felt it was really important to train with her because it's such an important part of health.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that we didn't cover?
There's just so much.
Right.
I know.
Do you have 5 years to talk to? Right. If you guys do have any questions that we didn't cover today or that you didn't get a chance to write down, I don't see any questions so far, although some people have commented on other stuff. Just send Ece an email or give her a call.
Please do. I do free consults, so come on in.
There you go. I think it's a safe bet to say that if you have an issue with something and you're wondering if acupuncture will help, the answer is yes. Then it will. So give Ece a call. She's in Watertown.
Yes.
So, especially of those of you that are closer to Boston or work out towards Boston, I know a lot of my clients work out that direction. So, awesome. Just hit her on the way home or at lunchtime or whenever.
Yeah.
I don't actually know her hours. So
I actually do offer later hours. I start kind of later in the day and then offer later hours because I find people like to come after work. So making it easy for people to get to me.
Isn't she great? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I do have one more question for you before we end our time together, and that is, what is the most superficial thing about you?
That's a good question.
My favorite question of the day.
I am obsessed with chocolate.
Mm.
I really, yeah, I don't know if that counts as superficial. Does that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also very conscious of how frizzy my hair is. You curly haired people, I'm sure you struggle with this in the winter. I'm always self-aware of just the frizziness is unavoidable in winter. In the summer, great curls.
Yeah.
In the winter, just a big ball of frizz.
What do you do to help it?
I try to put different stuff like natural things in it. I don't want to do the chemical stuff because they can alter your hormone levels and mess with things. But
we're gonna talk about that on another week too.
Yeah, that's a good topic. Oh my gosh. Since I'm Mediterranean, I try to do olive oil hair treatments every once in a while. But I don't know if any of you have hair tips for curly hair. I will take them.
I don't have that problem. I do get frizz though.
Oh, your hair is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I don't see any frizz at all.
It's wet right now. That's why. Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming. This is so fun, so informative. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today.
Yeah, it's so great to see your studio too. It's really beautiful. I mean, your photos, obviously, but the space.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you should come in and get your photos.
So yeah, just FYI about my studio. I'm so excited about this. So right now there's tile floor, which is what was here. This is in my home. It's kind of between the garage and the home part of my house. So it's its own little space. And when we moved in, it was tile floor. They used this as their family room, I think. I don't even really know what they used it as. I'm not them. But now it's my studio, which is great. There's a bathroom right next to it, all that. But the tile floor I actually hate in the studio. But as we save up for it, we're actually going to redo the floor in here. We're going to do radiant floors, which is why it's taking us so long to save up for it, right? I don't know if you've ever had radiant heat, but it's like amazing, especially in a bathroom. If you ever want one place to get radiant heat, get it in your bathroom. It's unbelievable. But we're going to do that here in the studio, especially because I work, with babies so much, and like some of the stuff is on the floor in baskets and bowls, so it'll be nice and warm. But we're doing like a rough sawn hardwood in here, which I'm super excited about. It just will match the space so nicely. And then we're adding a barn door to the doorway into the house, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. So many things that are happening.
It's already
here.
So great, but I'm excited
right?
to see the new and improved.
We slowly are improving the space. It's from 3 years ago. It's so different already, but yeah, thank you. Cool. I love it here. I hope everyone else loves it here. I want it to be cozy and comfy, but workable. So anyway, thanks so much for joining us today, and thank you, Ece.
Thank you.
I'll see you all next week. Next week, I don't remember who I have in. I think it might be Rebecca Urban with Urban Arrivals. Yes, she just opened, or didn't open. She just is starting at Root and Sprout in Northborough.
Awesome. Root and Sprout is so great.
Right? We love it there. And she's transitioning out of doula work, and she's doing more of life coaching for mothers, which is amazing. She's going to be offering a free class there. I think it's on Fridays. So check out the Root and Sprout page. But I'll also be talking to her next week, and you can hear more about that. So awesome. Great. Happy January, almost February, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness.